want to answer a question that has really been asked over the last 7 or 8 years that we've been on the channel, and I really haven't even been able to answer it up until this point. Going back a little bit, at the beginning of this year, I mentioned I would start talking more about the painting side of things because, as you guys know, if you watch this channel for any amount of time, not only do we install finished carpentry, we also finish finished carpentry, which means we either stain or paint it. Usually we're painting 99% of our stuff these days. And I want to kind of get into more of that because I get a lot of questions about painting on this channel. And one of the questions I want to address is, what paintbrush do we use? Now that sounds like a really basic question, and it shouldn't be that complicated, but it actually is very complicated because there's so many brush brands out there, there's so many blends of bristles, and there's prices ranging from $3 to a cheap brush you can get at Walmart or like a hardware store, all the way up to something you can order from overseas that is $110. And I have done both. I've bought a $3 paintbrush and I've used a $110 paintbrush. So I've seen the spectrum on paintbrushes, and I'm here to tell you what I personally like to use. This isn't a commercial or a paid advertisement or anything. This is just me telling you from my last decade of painting my favorite brush. But these brushes, they come in right around, I would just average them 25 bucks. Some of them you're gonna pay 35, 40 bucks. Some of them you're gonna pay 10 or 15 bucks. That all depends on the size. But for what we do, it's about $25 to $30 per brush. And that's a really good deal on a brush because we can have a brush for over a year. We do not have throwaway brushes. Even when we painted with the oil-based products, we didn't have throwaway brushes. We clean our brushes thoroughly to get the most use out of them. So really, even a $110 paintbrush, although it might sound crazy, if it's got a good handle, a good blend of bristles, and you really like the brush, if you can get several years out of it, it's not really that big of a price tag. Take it for what it's worth, but my favorite brushes are Corona brushes. Corona for the win. No longer have any other brands in the truck with me. It's all Corona. And these are made here in the USA. They're awesome brushes. I believe they're made in Florida. And the main reason I like them is because the blend of bristles that they have in these brushes, some of them are just absolutely amazing, super soft. They're almost impossible to leave brush strokes behind. And that really is the biggest thing I see people struggling with, at least from the questions I get, is, Richard, I brushed my crown and the installation's great, but the bristles, do I need to spray this thing? I see a bunch of brush strokes. You do not need to spray crown. And you can, but we do not spray any crown unless it's like part of a bigger accent wall or something we're working on. But if we're coming to do crown and crown an entire house, we're not gonna spray that. It's just way too much masking, especially if the home is being lived in. We've gotta cover everything, and it's insanity, it really is. It's like, I wouldn't even consider it. What we use to do our brushing on our crown molding are these brushes right here, and I'm gonna show you them and tell you the secret weapon to really these brushes. Now, to start off, you want to protect your brushes. This is just a little DeWalt little mini parts accessory box. It's a real thin box. It's not very wide at all. It doesn't take up a lot of room. It's clear. I drilled some holes in it just so the brushes could breathe. And I'll pop it open here for you. All of our brushes get to lay flat. And even if they don't have these, cardboard protectors that eventually, get ruined, like this one, you can see it's kind of on its way out. They can remain in here and the bristles aren't going to get frayed up or damaged just being in a bucket or some other part of the vehicle when we're carrying these things from job to job. So first off, I'll say, make sure you protect your brushes. Keep them in a container like this. I got this at Home Depot for like 15 bucks. And again, I just drilled some holes in it and now it's a custom brush box. So to start out, the most important brush a painter can have is this wire brush right here. This is going to be the best thing to keep these brushes lasting for years to come. Now obviously with this, all you're going to do is just clean your brush like this. If there's gunked up paint on here, you can scrape it. And this is really the most important tool, because without this, these would probably not last more than a week or two, because you really got to get inside that pocket where the paint sits. Now when it comes to these Corona brushes, you don't want to just grab any brush off the shelf. you know, obviously you're gonna find what you like to work with. I personally like a 3-inch angled brush. John is a 3.5-inch, just, you know, square tip brush right there. When you find out what brush you like, make sure you get this blend right here, Tynex Nylon. I'm not an expert on these fabrics right here, these materials, but I do know this. They are the absolute softest bristles I've ever felt from trying so many brushes over the years. And with my experience, it is pretty much impossible to leave brush strokes behind with this brush and a high quality paint. I'm not gonna downplay the paint. The paint has to be good. So if you have a high quality paint and a high quality brush like that, you will not see those brush strokes, because that can really ruin a job. So that's really our secret weapon to how we get a nice brush finish, because it can be done. Not everything has to be sprayed. You just have to have the right brush, the right paint, and a little bit of experience to know what you're doing. A lot of that has to do with keeping a wet edge, which means when you're painting, you got to kind of lay it on there thick and move quick, because when you start and stop, when you're painting, when you're brushing, you can see that line where you start, where you stopped and where you're starting again. So there's a lot more to it than just the brush, but this is where you want to start. There are other blends of Corona brushes. There's many other blends, and every brush in here is for water-based products. We have slowly but surely been moving away from any oil-based product. So I honestly hate oil-based products for trim, and they yellow, and it's just really bad. And I'll show you one other blend of brush that we have here. This is just a little touch-up brush. We use these right here. These is Tynex Orel. So this is different from the Tynex Nylon that I just love. This is a little bit stiffer of a brush, and we'll use this for cutting in like textured surfaces or touch-ups, where we doesn't really matter if, you know, we have a ultra smooth finish on some orange peel textured walls. We can just use this, and we can dip it into a little touch-up bucket like this, and it's super small, and then we can go do our touch-ups or whatever. But this is another Tynex Orel brush right here, another Corona 2.5-inch. So we've got a nice arsenal of Corona right here, and this is what we use. So I'll show you guys some more stuff in upcoming videos as far as, you know, my style of painting. But ultimately, a nice brush, a good paint, and a little bit of experience, and you don't have to spray everything. A lot of you guys think I spray everything. I spray probably 10% of what we do. I just usually don't show the brushing, but we're gonna start showing you guys some more of that. So anyways, let me know if you have any questions about these brushes here. And other than that, like I mentioned, Corona for the win. So we'll see you guys on the next video. Take care.